being too nice might not be worth it. Watch today's video where I go through 3 reasons why being too nice just might be backfiring on you. Hey guys, if you're new around here, my name is Diana Garcia. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, owner of a private practice called Nurturing Minds Counseling. All right, so let's jump into today's video. Last week, I did a video on 5 signs when maybe you're too nice. So if you're not sure, I'd encourage you to go watch that video. Click on the link here now, where maybe these signs are going to tell you whether you might be falling into this category called a people pleaser. This week's video is more about what the cost is of being a people pleaser. So first sign is that you end up taking on tasks that you just don't want to do, right? Or you just don't have the time or energy or money, like any resources to do these tasks. And so that's the first cost. And it might seem like a no-brainer, but I really want you to think about, like, imagine you have a full week, and when you're looking at your week, you have like at least 3 to 4 tasks that, because you couldn't say no, because you just didn't know how to tell this coworker or friend that you didn't want to do it, whether it was a social obligation, whether it's a work thing, and now you're looking at your weekend and you're like dreading it because there's all these things on your calendar that you're just not looking forward to. And that's just draining, right? That's just no way to live, where there's all these things that we don't want to do. And of course, all of us have things on our to-do list or our calendar that we don't want to do. That is life. But I'm talking about where the majority that's the case because there was an opportunity to say no and you couldn't say no, right? Or you just didn't know how to have that awkward or uncomfortable conversation, or at least you perceived that it would be awkward or uncomfortable. So that's the first cost that is maybe too high, that you're being too nice. The second sign that being too nice is backfiring you is really that there's this constant feeling of resentment and also some depletion and exhaustion, but really the main one here that I want to focus on is resentment. And so when we think about resentment, there is this feeling of frustration, anger, feeling better than a little bit, but also really key here, it's this feeling of feeling envious, or falls in that envy family. So this comes from Brene Brown's new book, Atlas of the Heart, which I'd encourage you to check out my video on that book where I review it, pick out highlights. But anyways, going back to resentment, she really talks about that an eye-opening moment was when she realized that resentment isn't so much in like the anger category, but more so in this envious category, in terms of we feel resentment towards others because we kind of envy the fact that they can maybe set limits or set boundaries, or they're not constantly overwhelming themselves with adding more to their plate, or maybe they can handle confrontation where you can't, or maybe they can kind of be okay with just good enough versus maybe some perfectionism, or maybe they have a more stable sense of self-esteem, so they're not constantly looking for it in other people or outside sources. So we feel a little bit envious about the fact that they can do that and we can't. And so I think that's a really key piece to recognize, that when you start noticing that there's this constant sense of resentment that you're having towards others, that might mean that the cost of being too nice is too high at this point, because that resentment is starting to cloud everything you do. Do you resonate with this piece of feeling resentful? If so, let me know in the comments below. The third sign that it's costing you too much, it's backfiring you, it's that your needs always go on the back burner. So that's really key, is that when we're thinking of being too nice, of course, all of us, for the most part, being nice, it's something that's socially accepted, but we're talking here about an extreme or a pattern. And one really key feature is that you always put your needs last. That because these other patterns take over, where you're maybe constantly looking for validation on other people, you struggle with confrontation, that means that your needs always get pushed to the back burner. But at the end of the day, your needs are just as important as everyone else's. And honestly, it's kind of like that, classic example. It's like you need to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help someone else. But when you struggle, or when you're being too nice, that means that you never do that's really hard for you. So eventually you're just going to run out of steam. And so that's really a cost that might be too high and really isn't worth it for you. More content related to anxiety, people pleasing, self-esteem, perfectionism, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel, where you'll stay up to date on the latest information. And as always, I encourage you to continue nurturing your mind, body, and soul. Bye guys.